You're listening to WCOM LP 103.5 FM Carborough and Chapel Hill. It's a Tuesday, it's 5 o'clock, and that only means one thing. It's time for another round of Snarky Faith with your host, Stuart Deloney. This is a space where we irreverently wrestle through life, culture, and spirituality, all with our heads in the clouds, our tongues in our cheeks, our hearts in our sleeves, and our feet on the ground. At Snarky Faith, the questions or even the answers are never the point. It's all about the conversation. So here's your host, Stuart Deloney.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to another round of Snarky Faith Radio. I'm your host, Stuart Deloney, welcoming you back here for another week in the Snarkdome, Snarkorama, Snarkapelago? I'm not really sure how you want to say this, but yes, welcome for another round of Snarky Faith Radio. I'm your host, Stuart Deloney. I am excited to be back here this week. Isn't it weird when you have to say out loud that you're excited? It's almost like you're trying to make yourself sound excited. But in this case, that's not true. I'm actually medically and clinically excited to be back here for Snarky Faith this week, so thank you so much for being here. And as we do here on Snarky Faith, we hop into different topics of faith and spirituality, all with the snarky lens, snarkified for you and any other way I can somehow package the word snarky into there. Yes. So before we start our show, I want to give you a reminder. We've just kind of started this, and I want to see where it goes. Maybe it goes nowhere. Maybe it goes somewhere. Maybe it can be a little bit of fun, but we have opened up the Snarky Hotline, 919-525-1570. And this is a place where you can give us feedback. That's right. You call, you leave a message. This is kind of all the conveniences of modern technology here. Yes, you call, you leave a message. And guess what? Most likely, you'll appear on the air. That's right. Give us your comments, give us your feedback, give us your questions, give us whatever the hell you want to give us, because, hey, it's your time on the phone. So go ahead. That's right. The Snarky Hotline is 919-525-1570. Just for you. Just for you, my Snark Nation. So thanks for listening. And if you're new to the show, well, you'll catch on quickly. And if you won't, you'll be very confused. But as we do every week here on Snarky Faith, we hop into the topics of the day. And our main story, I'll go ahead and tease it a little bit. We're going to be talking about good old Mikey Pence today. But guess what? Before we get to Mike Pence and Mother, we've got to get to the Christian Crazy of the Week. That's right, the Christian Crazy of the Week. Here we go.
Lord have mercy. The Lord is my shepherd. He knows what I want.
So here we go with your cray of the week. And this one comes to us from the Friendly Atheist over at patheos.com. And I'm not even sure what to do with this one, which always makes it that much more fun. Christian evangelist and preacher Andrew Womack, who has showed up on the show before, because sometimes people just have that special brand of crazy that drives all the girls wild. And Andrew's one of them. Yay, Andrew! Woo! So, yeah. This one is on one of Andrew's live Bible studies where he's trying to make the argument that God has the power to heal everybody as long as we follow his laws. So, in some sort of weird sense, I kind of think he's saying, hey, a-hole, if you die, it's your fault. God's already given you the tools to be able to live forever and ever. Yeah. You think I'm wrong? Let's go ahead and listen to Andrew.
That is wrong. God is not the one who's failing to heal any single person. God has provided healing. He has generated the power. The power source is on the inside of you. And if you aren't seeing healing, It's because you aren't connecting these wires.
That's great, Andrew. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Andrew. Anyone heard these before? Anyone heard like BS like this before? Like, oh, you've got cancer, but only if you believe more, then you won't have cancer. It's one of those things that folks like Andrew like to employ to be able to prey on the weaker or prey on those that are in really dire situations where you're able to tell someone, hey, guess what? God can heal you. And you're like, really? Tell me more. Well, God can only heal you if you know how to connect the wires better. But apparently God is like understanding how to put together a shelf from IKEA. Like the instructions, they make no sense. I don't understand why. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just being a jerk with the microphone again. I've been accused of worse on this show. So, Andrew, finish. Tell me you're not being a complete douchebag in answering this question.
Did you know when a person grabs hold of a live wire, if you were to grab 2 live wires like this, electricity will flow, and it can electrocute you, possibly kill you.
Let's just go ahead and take a time for a public service announcement here on Snarky Faith Radio, because we have been mercilessly mocking Andrew Womack here in this segment, but right now he does give us a bit of truth. If you see a live wire, kids out there, don't grab it. It'll kill you. Brought to you by Andrew Womack. Now, let's just go ahead and let him continue.
And people say, well, why did the electric company do that? They didn't do that. They generated the power, yes. They put the lines down, yes. But it's just the laws that govern how this power flows. And they did not single this person out and kill them as an example. It's just laws.
You know, it's always good to state the obvious. Sorry, Andrew, I'll let you finish.
God doesn't just heal one person and not heal another person. He has provided healing for every person, but you've got to learn those laws and cooperate with them. And if you aren't cooperating, like for instance this law about what you say, if you're speaking death and telling everybody, man, I think I'm going to die, I've only got a month to live, you are hung by your tongue.
So now enters the time of superstition into his Christian, applying air quotes right now, Christian diatribe.
You are killing yourself. It's like picking up a wire, and then when you die, people will say, why didn't God heal this person? God did heal that person. They killed themselves by not operating in the laws of God.
Why, oh why, oh why, oh why, does guilt have an ever-present position in Christian culture? I've heard these responses like this before many times, and actually I've heard people tell this to folks in my family before in the past, and when I begin to hear this, I just want to cry BS, because as we try to do here on the show, Snarky Faith, we try to point out the falsities, the charlatans of Christianity, and this is one of those like long play Ponzi schemes that's been going on within Christianity for years. Well, God will only heal you if you've got enough faith. If you haven't spoken a word against yourself or done X, Y, or Z, then God will heal you. Guess what? If God's not healing you, it's because it's your fault. And really, honestly, if we look at this psychologically, think through this, it's really just kind of a trapdoor that these type of preachers use to be able to cover their own asses. Meaning that, well, if I'm having a healing service and I'm not healing you, it's not me, it's you. You're the problem. God would flow through me. I could heal you. I want to heal you. I really want to heal you. But you know, you've got something that's blocking God in yourself, and you're going to die horrible death alone and ridden with sores and disease and I don't know, whatever else horrible that we can say in these situations, because again, you're listening to a show called Snarky Faith, and as I am required to remind you every 5 minutes or so, legally required, really just by my wife, that this show is full of sarcasm. Oh my gosh. Seriously, Andrew, shut the f- up. That's the nicest thing I can tell you, especially to someone that is in pain and suffering and going through this. My holiest answer for you is literally shut the f- up. If you're wanting to talk about cancer, you're a cancer on Christianity. That's as nice as I can put it. But instead of going down this dirty, dirty, dirty bumhole of Andrew, let's go to something a little bit more flowery, like Pat Robertson, because flowery and Pat Robertson always go hand in hand. Here we go. It's really the worst segue in history. And if you've reached this point in the show and you're upset a little bit about how much Stewart is getting ridiculously angry at people using the Bible as a weapon against other people, well, this may be the point where you need to turn off the show. But if you've made it this far and you're willing to go forward, and you can hand her a couple of censor beeps, then let's listen to Pat Robertson as he answers a question in only the way Pat Robertson can, with that kind of, humanity, empathy, sensitivity that Pat Robertson would give to a situation when a mom is asking about what she should do if her daughter has come forward saying that she was molested. You know Pat's gonna handle this well. You just know it. You just know it. So let's go ahead with it. Here you go.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. It's time for your questions and some honest answers from Pat. We'll start with this one from a viewer. My daughter just told me she was sexually abused by a neighbor boy at the age of 6. She's now 35. How do I forgive and deal with this? The guilt and helplessness is overwhelming.
Now, here we can see a beautiful opportunity for Pat to be able to show his humanity in answering this mother's question that is wrought with pain and hurt. Like, the easy answer would be to say, listen to your daughter, like, send her to counseling and walk through this with her so she can find the healing that she needs. That's the easy answer. That's the easy answer that gets to the end of the question, where you're able to handle this in grace, in a way where you are affirming the person that's asking the question and also affirming the victim, saying, you've been hurt. God loves you. And there is a way and a path towards healing. Here's how we do it. Now, that would be the right answer. But let's go ahead and cut to the Pat answer.
May I say, I think you're making too big a deal of it. Little kids don't know what they're doing. They don't have any sexual identity, and they like to play doctor, and they do all this stuff. Your daughter's 6. Your friend is probably 6 or 7.
So let's chart the moment that all of this goes wrong. Actually, well, his beginning to his answer was where it was going wrong. Yeah, that's just heartless and cruel and Pat Robertson-ish, because that's what he does. But the real place where he begins to go wrong is initially he begins to dismiss the problem. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing. But, let's give Pat a chance, right? I'm assuming he started off a little gruff, and he's going to stop this whole idea of dismissing stuff and really just kind of trying to downplay sexual assault. I mean, maybe, probably not, because you know where this is going to go.
And so that was
30 years ago.
30 years ago. So, I mean, get over it.
Two things real quick here, and I didn't realize it'd be coming back with two things real quick here, but Pat's burning his bridges faster than he can light matches. What? Beyond the fact that he's saying, get over it, I love that he's descending into this whole realm of like mathematics when he's looking at assault against a person. Oh, well, that was 35, corrected 30-ish years ago. Math's not my thing. Neither is being a follower of Jesus. So just bear with me here. I'm Pat Robertson, for God's sakes. Have you watched CBN at all in the last 30 years? Oh, sweet Jesus. I have no idea what I'm doing here anymore on the air. I'm Pat Robertson. That's how we should pretty much end every show. Oh my God, did he just tell this mother and essentially this child at the same time, get the hell over it? Great. That sounds nothing like Jesus. That sounds nothing biblical. That sounds just like a disgusting old white man with privilege and a TV camera and a network in front of him being able to say whatever the hell he wants to and get away with it yet again. So keep going, Pat Robertson, because I'll keep going and tearing you down, you old son of a bitch.
I mean, I can't imagine that has had some kind of a scar in her life. She's a little kid, and they do these things. And I think what you do is forgive and forget. How do you get over it? I mean, why would you, harbor this thing?
I shouldn't say this, but I'm just in that mood, so I will go ahead and say this. Doesn't it kind of doesn't Pat kind of sound like one of those guys that's kind of speaking out against something he's done in his own private life, but he's speaking out against it publicly, being like, oh, it's not a big deal, a little playing doctor, a little touching here, touching there. It's just kind of playful stuff that you do, because that's what you do. Oh. Yeah. What to do. First and foremost, I want to formally apologize to the mom that wrote in with a sincere question wanting to ask Pat, hey, how do I handle this? What is a godly perspective of how I should walk this out as a mother? How do I tend to my child? How do I be able to handle this situation that apparently is causing my child pain? Pat's answer, it was a while ago. That's kid stuff. Don't worry about it. Because you know what? Christians don't ever do that. Because we know that. We know Christians don't cover up like weird sin issues and other stuff, with sex and sin. Right? Oh, does that lead us to our new segment this week? I honestly think it did, and in a very dark, weird, creepy manner, but that's really how the news feels this week. Oh, we're going to get to our new section called WTF.
What in the hot hell is wrong with you?
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Yep, WTF is exactly what it sounds like. It's the worst. It's the worst of the week. Don't worry, folks. I'll promise you that with me adding the worst of the week, I'm going to add a best of the week towards the end of the hour. So you'll have to hang around. Or if you're listening to this on podcast, scroll down all the way to the end to hear the good stuff. But the worst is bad. And as you would understand the word worst to mean, it is the worst. And when I mean the worst, none of this brings me pleasure to bring this up. But when we talk about the worst, let's talk about the Catholic Church. Because that's typically a good opening line to a fun conversation. So we'll make this as fun as possible because we are a snarky faith, but the story is also disgusting, deplorable as all get out. So bear with me. We'll get to the snark, don't worry. So if you haven't heard this until now, I'll go ahead and just say, I'm sorry that you're hearing this for the first time now on a sarcastic radio show. But yes, recently there has been a horrific grand jury report that has dealt with rape and sexual abuse of over 100 Pennsylvania children at the hands of hundreds of Pennsylvania Catholic priests. Again, I know for the longest time, this has been kind of a recurring joke that people would have. Priest joke. Altar boy joke. But the thing we have to remember in the midst of all of this stuff is that, hey, this still happens. This is going on. And that altar boy has a name. So all jokes and funny aside, this is disgusting, deplorable, and just reprehensible that this continues to go on. Like I can understand in the past before it became a joke, but now many years post this being a recurring joke, we're continuing to find out more and more and more and more. And again, when we say over 1,000 children in Pennsylvania have been molested by the Catholic Church, that's the ones we know about, and we're only talking about Pennsylvania. So when you read articles like this and talk about things of this nature, of course, you would assume that any good Catholic's answer would be, we need to change this, or some sort of contrition, or something along the lines of, the church is broken, this needs to be fixed. You would assume that would be the answer. But it's not. Okay, so this comes from cnsnews.com. That's CatholicNewsService.com, from an article by Bill Donahue that's entitled Pennsylvania Grand Jury Report on Clergy Sexual Abuse Debunked. Because, Bill, we needed pushback on this story. Yeah, thank you. You disgusting human being. He runs through this article by doing myth and fact. So one of his whistleblowing myths is that priests, quote unquote, raped their victims. As I'm just going to quote directly from him because I want no part of this on my own. Yes, that the priests, quote unquote, raped their victims. Shapiro said that, quote, the church officials routinely and purposely described the abuse as horseplay and wrestling and inappropriate contact, but it was none of those things, he said. It was, quote, rape. Similarly, the New York Times quoted from the report saying that the church officials used such terms as, quote, horseplay and, quote, inappropriate contact as part of their playbook for concealing the truth. Now, Bill continues here with his fact section. So he, again, when you lay this out as myth and fact, you're debunking something. So, again, not my words. This is Bill's words. Fact, this is an obscene lie. Most of the alleged victims were not raped. They were groped or otherwise abused, but not penetrated, which is what the word rape means. I'm sorry, what, Bill? Your defense is, hey, they weren't penetrated. Now, Bill does go on to say this, and I'll quote him. Quote, this is not a defense. It is meant to set the record straight and debunk the worst case scenarios attributed to the offenders. Furthermore, the church officials were not following a, quote, playbook for using terms as inappropriate contact. They were following the lexicon established by John J. Professors. So he's going on to debunk this, saying, sure, there may have been penetration in some cases, but, there was just other abuse. And so when we call this kind of abuse rape, come on, people, let's get the abuse lexicon correct. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. This is so disgusting. Bill Donahue, you are either a sick mother or I honestly have really no other answer trying to defend this. And I understand you're the Catholic League president, but really that you're going to try to form any kind of an argument, even though I know you kind of give your scapegoat, this isn't a defense. But seriously, when your main argument is, well, this report's not as bad because there wasn't penetration. Shut up. Shut up. Generally on my show, if you've listened to this, swearing is not something that often happens, but this has just been a special week, or Stuart's in a special headspace, or something special is happening. I don't really understand it, but seriously, I've said this before on the show today, and I will say this again right now. I will say this again. Bill Donahue, shut the fuck up. I mean, seriously. I understand you're trying to protect the church and your understanding of your kind of religious way of life. I get it. I get it. But really, dude, really, seriously, just shut the fuck up. This is just disgusting. Sometimes the best answer is no answer. And that's what I would attribute right here in this situation. Yeah, sometimes you just keep your mouth shut and ride out the storm, and hopefully try, if you honestly care about affecting change, try to make change in your own spheres in the Catholic Church. But trying to be a grammar Nazi and begin to try to parse parts of these arguments when everything is so disgusting and so damning and so far from anything the church should be involved in, associated with, even, yes, any of that. It's just so wrong, Bill. So, Bill, stop. In the name of Jesus, just stop. But talking about people that are messed up in the name of Jesus is the bread and butter of the show. And much of what we have focused on in the past year to year and a half or so has been how the Christian church in America has completely rolled over for the Republican Party. We've talked ad nauseum about how disgusting the religious right has become, how evangelicals have forgotten who they are and continue to suckle the teat of Trump. And all of this is horrifying and disgusting. Now, on a brighter side, we see things in the news like Michael Cohen pleading guilty, Paul Manafort being convicted, and David Pecker. I can say that. David Pecker. I'm sorry, that's just always funny, being able to say that word. I'm a juvenile at heart. And yes, David Pecker, the guy that's part of AMI, it's connected to the Inquirer, rolling over for immunity, and on top of that, Trump CFO, Trump Industries, whatever the hell it is, international, also trying to grab immunity in these cases. And so we can all, at these moments, for those of us that have seen the sham that is President Trump, we can get to this point of being able to say, hooray, rejoice, this is wonderful. As long as we have a blue wave in the fall, impeachment people, we'll have impeachment parties. We'll celebrate this as Trump goes off to jail. But I'm here also to crash your party on the side of the left by this next bit that we're going to talk about here on the show. We're going to talk about the nightmare that is Mike Pence. You know, the guy that's the vice president, that when we get all excited that Trump is out of here, this motherfucker is the guy that becomes president. Because, you know, our last story has nothing to do with this story. We're not talking about weirdly religious men that have weirdly religious ways of handling things and rules that don't make sense. And they have weird words they call people like cardinal or mother. You were not talking about men that are just internally repressed so much they become these weird monsters. No, no, no. These two stories have no connection. But yes, they absolutely do. So let's talk more about the mother-loving Mike Pence and why this is scary as hell if we get rid of Trump. And it's also scary as hell if we keep Trump. So scary as hell plus scary as hell equals scary as hell? Yeah, it's that kind of show this week, and yeah, it's that much fun.
There is going to be a new boss in town, and you're all going to have to start fending for yourselves. You're all going to finally feel that sweet sting of sweat in your eyes as Buster. You can't do that on the balcony, buddy.
Mom says it's too windy.
Yes, Mike Pence, the Buster Bluth of politicians, the mother lover of vice presidents. That Mike Pence, just in case you were worried about your neighbor that may be Michael Pence or anyone else like that. No, Mike Pence, that Mike Pence, that Mike Pence. The one that was supposed to be the adult in the room, except, guess what? That room is the White House. Oh, so we have our dear Mike Pence, from embattled governor to chief fluffer of the POTUS. He's like a silver fox version of an evangelical Stepford wife. So as we kind of descend a little bit more into what is behind Trump and why he's equally scary for other reasons, we have to remind ourselves of several truths when it comes to Mike Pence. So first of all, we all need to kind of get on the same page with this, because once we're on the same page, we can go, oh hell, this is really bad. And then hopefully look for a better solution. That's typically how these kind of steps work. I think, what is it, like step 1 is doubt. Step 2 is realizing that there really is a problem, and there really is a problem right now. And Mike Pence, he was the guy that was the key to the militant evangelical base for Trump. I mean, if you look at him, he's their wet dream. I mean, think about this. I mean, you don't get any more poster boy than this. I mean, add a little bit of Left Behind from Tim LaHaye, shake in a little Warhawk of Dick Cheney for good measure. Because when we talk about things like Pence and Cheney, it sounds like a bad euphemism or a pun waiting to happen, but it's downright scary. It's really downright scary, because what you see in Mike Pence is like the epitome of that whole God and guns thing that drives conservative evangelical Christians. That idea that those two are like unmistakably intertwined. Because when we have God and guns, like, is there anything more conservative American than that? Right? Well, you may say to yourself, but there's something missing, Stuart. Aren't there more ingredients to this Pence fellow? Well, I'm glad you asked, because you're right. You're right. What's missing? Bigotry, misogyny? Oh, don't you worry. We've got that too. Yes, we've got that, and we've got it in spades. Because Mike Pence toes the party line on all sorts of fun topics. Reproductive rights for fetuses. Climate change? Oh, it's not a thing, right, Mike Pence? Oh, and I'm pretty sure from his track record, Mike, well, how do we put this? I think Mike is a little wary, a little scared. Wait. Those all sound too nice. I think Mike Pence doesn't like anybody that has more skin pigment than he does, which is, depending upon which tribe you're standing with, either raises the bar or lowers it very far. But either way, it's still scary. It's still scary, and we're not done with the scariness that is Mike Pence. Now, you may like what I've said before, but guess what? That offer gets sweeter. With Mike Pence, you also get someone that's anti-LGBTQ. That's right. Mike Pence tried to block federal funding for HIV treatment unless it came with a requirement to advocate against homosexual relationships. He did this as governor of Indiana. He tried to friggin' block HIV treatments. He also opposes the LGBTQ involvement in the military. Am I getting a little bit of a theme here? Oh, wait, there's more. In 2015, Pence signed this bill as governor known as the Religious Freedom Restoration Act that essentially legalized discrimination. So if you're listening to us locally in the Chapel Hill and Carrboro area, it sounds a lot like the bathroom bill that we had here in North Carolina a little while back. Thanks, Pat McCrory. You're not missed. So some of that gives you a bit of the scariness that is Mike Pence and why we need to fear the idea of this phrase. These two words together, President Pence. And here's another fun fact. Mike Pence is the only official in the White House that can't be fired. And if all of that wasn't enough, for us to already be very worried for this idea of a President Pence, one thing I want to remind all of you out there is notice how Pence doesn't push back on anything Trump does, on anything that could be seen as unhumane or even, speaking to Pence's base, very unchristian. Pence doesn't push back. I mean, hell, we've seen Melania push back. She at least wears jackets. You see, one of the reasons that Pence doesn't publicly disagree with Trump, I think, is because he agrees with him. He agrees with all that's going on here. Like, by his show of deference and not standing up, not mentioning anything, completely just towing the line and being Trump's little cuck boy, what ends up happening is essentially everything he's doing says he agrees with what Trump is doing. I mean, if Pence is this wonderful man of God, why is he not speaking up against these atrocities? That would be very un-Jesus-y. Yeah, but he just keeps going. You see, what happens here is Mike Pence is like the perfect foil. He's the yin and yang for Trump. He's like the Republican base to Trump's populist vote. And hell, I mean, we already know this, and you can look this up if you don't believe me, that he already is loved very well by the Koch brothers. And I bring up all of this, not just to talk about weird politics in this, because you are listening to a show called Snarky Faith, but Mike Pence loves to say this one line. He says, I am a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order. And so when Trump talks about his faith, when Trump talks about being Christian, we all know he's full of crap. But when Pence says it, it's different because he means it. He means it in the way that any good fundamentalist Christian means it. Because being and towing the party line of the fundamentalists also gets us anti-evolution being taught in schools. I mean, we have Mike Pence, and he's this guy. He's this guy that believes in a literal 6 days for the creation of the earth. He believes that the earth is not very old. He is kind of, if you read him more and more, he starts creeping into Ken Ham territory, like the dude that built an ark as an amusement park for education. That Ken Ham? Yeah, Ken Ham territory. Guess what? Bob Jones territory, Liberty University territory, Franklin Graham territory, and if we want to give us a little bit of the way back, Jerry Falwell and the moral majority type territory. Yeah, I would say that's a little bit scary. And compared to his boss, Pence knows how the government works. He's no buffoon when it comes to getting policy through. And he understands the far-right agenda very well. Better than most things Trump understands, because Trump doesn't understand many things very well. And what begins to scare me is, like, with what Pence had brought up, saying I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order. Because the thing that the right wants the most, even though they won't admit it, is they essentially want a God. They want a Jesus that's going to come and kick ass, just like someone Pence-ish could kind of do, even though you look at Pence and you say kick ass, it doesn't make any sense. But really what I feel like this, ultimately, someone like Mike Pence would say, oh, it would be great to have someone like Jesus as president. Except, when you look at probably how he would define how Jesus would be president and I would define how Jesus would be president, I feel like the differences would kind of look like this. If anyone watched, and by no means should you watch this because it's just a really bad movie, Justice League. So some key part, and if you haven't watched it, I'm sorry, I'm not going to spoil it for you because the movie spoiled itself by existing. But Superman dies. That's not a spoiler. Superman dies and eventually comes back to life because Superman regenerates, because the movies and comic books let him do that. He regenerates, he comes back, he doesn't remember who he is. And so he's just like this powerful dude that's just blowing crap up and just kind of going crazy. And I feel like there's two different kind of versions of Jesus that people want. And when you come to the fundamentalist version of Jesus, it's like Superman when he doesn't know who he is, who he's just strong and he's powerful and he's just blowing stuff up. And then there's like the version when he finally like remembers who he is and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. Like, oh, thank you for letting me not continue to be an a-hole anymore. That Jesus. Mike Pence probably wants the Jesus that's the former, not the latter in that situation. And I understand I'm probably bending the metaphor beyond what it's meant to be bent. But this is my microphone, and this is my radio show, so feel free to tell me I'm an idiot and questions at snarkyfaith.com. But let me continue. So I give you all of this real-world scary stuff to now get into the religious stuff. And just to be perfectly transparent, I'm going to be horribly petty for the next little while here on the show. And yes, I've probably been worse than horribly petty at some point in this show already, but this one, I'm intentionally being petty. And this all comes from an article called Mike Pence's Plan to Outlast Trump by Michael D'Antonio and Peter Eisner over at CNN. And as I was reading this article, I started to get ticked off. And I'm getting ticked off for a very, very, very small, specific reason. So if you've grown up or been around kind of conservative evangelicalism, you kind of know that there is this love for people to find characters from the Bible and apply them to modern day humans that are in our lives right now. So we will take these biblical people and say, oh, they're the modern day this, they're the modern day that, they're the modern day whatever. Because I guess as Christians, it just makes you feel cool. I don't know, or makes you feel relevant at this moment. And as I'm reading through this article, it begins to get me. This one little weird thing begins to get me with the whole thing is that they're doing this again. They're finding like biblical parallels and saying this is how it works. And they're selling this to the masses. Don't believe me? Here, let me give you an example from the article. And this is in reference to Pence. He, Pence, is acting, in fact, as if he is on a mission from God. Some may laugh, but many conservative Christians believe that God is merely using Trump to prepare a way for the so-called true man of faith. Pence's rise to power would affirm the Cyrus prophecy, which became a popular notion amongst Christian right circles when Pence joined the ticket in 2016. And the article goes on to say this: Cyrus was a Persian king whom the Old Testament credits with returning the Jews to Jerusalem. He was a pagan who nonetheless served God. Right-wing evangelists such as Lance Wallenow, I really don't even care if I'm spelling his name right. We've had his craziness on the show before. Cited that the tale in 2016, when they declared that Trump, a profane and sinful man, could nevertheless do God's work and was thus worthy of conservative Christian votes. An estimated 80% of white evangelicals gave Trump their votes, end quote. Again, I want to say that again. 80% of white evangelicals gave Trump their vote. And so what we see here is this weird kind of subversive narrative that many right-wing Christians are viewing, that this is the promised land. This is the road out. That eventually we'll be able to say Merry Christmas any time of year and not seem like idiots just because we love Jesus. And what I hate most about all of this, and I know it's slightly petty, but I don't think it's that petty, is the fact that they're trying to invoke God into these situations. Trump is a man. Pence is a man. And they are both flawed men like everyone else before us. But when you begin to try to say people are godly men, these are the men that God chose, this is who God wants in there, that becomes a very dangerous statement when you're speaking to the sheep of congregations. People that are just willing to believe whatever the pastor or political figure are telling them. This is frightening. It's frightening that we're somehow using the Bible out of context, out of the way it was ever intended to use, but we're using it to justify our bad decisions. We're using it to justify the fact that we're allowing these people that Christians would say are their chosen one who look nothing like Jesus. But we can find justification like we always do in many different places, even in the Bible. So there, that was my soapbox. That part actually pisses me off a ton. I'm terrified of the first stuff that we were talking about with Pence. But to end with, I'm really also just kind of pissed that this is kind of another fun way that people are using the Bible, they're using God, they're using Jesus to be able to market their BS. I mean, we make fun of it at the beginning of the show with the Jim Bakkers of the world that sell end times foods and all of this other stuff. And we make fun of other people like Robert Jeffress here on the show, who's like the pastor of First Baptist Dallas. We love to call out this hypocrisy because it's ridiculous. When you begin to blend this idea of politics and religion, you get nothing good. So stop, Christians. Stop doing this. It's not helpful. But the cool thing is, next week on the show, you're going to be able to hear from Cody Cook, who wrote a book about this very idea about kind of having a, what does it mean to be a Christian and engaging in politics? I think you're going to enjoy that a lot. So stay tuned for that. And I can't, with good conscience, end a talk about Mike Pence without giving you just a little more of your favorite mother lover, Buster Bluth, because soon he may be president.
These are my words, Mother, from Army. The seal is for marksmanship, and the gorilla is for sand racing.
So after all that fun, what I want to start doing here on this show is leaving you with something more hopeful. Because as we really descend into our weeks, as we kind of walk through the muck and the mire of our lives every week, it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to get disheartened by what's happening in the world around us. We spend the first part of our show talking about why there is so much crazy within religion in America today. But I will tell you this. Even living in the time of Trump, there is hope. There are better days ahead. And if you don't like the way life is right now, the greatest thing about living here in America is you can go out and make a difference and make a change to the way the world is. It can be small change. It can be large change. And what I wanted to start doing at the end of our show is giving you something that is full of hope, something that continues to point you towards the goodness in life, to point you towards the fact that there is more than what we see, that there is a place for the snark, but there is also a place for us to be able to say, we can do better, we can be better, and let us do that together. And with that, I bring you Beto O'Rourke, who is candidating against Ted Cruz down in Texas. Now, it is my greatest hope and desire that we will get Beto on the show. I've been talking with his press coordinator for a few months now, trying to find a spot in his schedule. So fingers crossed we will get Beto on this. And for those of you listening that are in his district in Texas, sweet Jesus, vote for this guy. This guy is good. He is interesting. And what he is really trying to do is trying to mobilize people to make this world a better place. And this video, this response that Beto gives is to that conversation that is old and is tired and is sad, just like our president, about the NFL players kneeling for the national anthem. We've talked ad nauseum on the show about why this is so dumb that conservatives are getting mad about this. But I love the hopeful spin that Beto puts on this. And when you get to a place when you can't say it better than Beto, you let Beto speak. So listen to this video. This is the goodness of the week. This is what's good in the week. I give you that to hopefully give you a little spark of hope as you move into your week. So here's Beto.
I do come from a family of veterans. And you know, you mentioned football season earlier. I kind of wanted to know how you personally felt about how disrespectful it is. Like, you have the NFL players kneeling during the national anthems. I wanted to know if you found that disrespectful to our country, to our veterans, and anybody related to that. I find it incredibly frustrating that people seem to be okay with that. And I would just like to hear your input.
Thank you. Thanks for a great question. Again, on a really tough issue that if we don't talk about is not going to get better. And the question is, how do you feel about NFL players who take a knee during the national anthem? And is it disrespectful to this country, to the flag, to service members who are right there tonight, where it is tonight in Afghanistan, and those former service members, retirees, and veterans who are here with us today? Thank you each for your service. My short answer is no. I don't think it's disrespectful. Here's my longer answer, but I'm going to try to make sure that I get this right, because I think it's a really important question. And reasonable people can disagree on this issue. Let's begin there. And it makes them no less American to come down on a different conclusion on this issue, right? You can feel as a young man does, you can feel as I do, you're every bit as American, all the same. But I'm reminded, somebody mentioned reading the Taylor Branch book. You did. Parting the Waters and the King Years. And when you read that book and find out what Dr. King and this nonviolent, peaceful movement to secure better, because they didn't get full, civil rights for their fellow Americans, the challenges that they faced, those who died in Philadelphia, Mississippi, for the crime of trying to be a man, trying to be a woman in this country, the young girls who died in the church bombing, those who were beaten within an inch of their life crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama with John Lewis, those who were punched in the face, spat upon, dragged out by their collar at the Woolworth lunch counter for sitting with white people at the same lunch counter in the same country where their fathers may have bled the same blood on the battlefields of Omaha Beach or Okinawa or anywhere that anyone ever served this country. The freedoms that we have were purchased not just by those in uniform, and they definitely were, but also by those who took their lives into their hands riding those Greyhound buses, the Freedom Riders in the Deep South in the 1960s, who knew full well that they would be arrested, and they were serving time in the Mississippi State Penitentiary. Rosa Parks getting from the back of the bus to the front of the bus, peaceful, nonviolent protests, including taking a knee at a football game to point out that black men, unarmed, black teenagers, unarmed, and black children, unarmed, are being killed at a frightening level right now, including by members of law enforcement, without accountability and without justice. And this problem, as grave as it is not going to fix itself. And they're frustrated, frankly, with people like me and those in positions of public trust and power who have been unable to resolve this or bring justice for what has been done and to stop it from continuing to happen in this country. And so nonviolently, peacefully, while the eyes of this country are watching these games, they take a knee to bring our attention and our focus to this problem to ensure that we fix it. That is why they are doing it, and I can think of nothing more American than to peacefully stand up or take a knee for your rights anytime, anywhere, any place. So thank you very much for asking the question. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us this week here at Snarky Faith Radio. And just a reminder as we end this broadcast that you can catch us on podcast at www.snarkyfaith.com. And another reminder that you can give us a call, drop a line, drop a message here, and it'll probably show up on the air. Call the Snarky hotline. It's 919-525-1570. And that's all I've got this week. And I will send you off with the holiest of snark and grace and peace. I'm out of here. See you next week, guys.
WCOM is listener-supported community radio, and Snarky Faith is only possible through our sponsors. Lumen, a spiritual community of seekers, sojourners, question askers, doubters, and skeptics, is a collective of fellow travelers that embrace the truth that all of life is sacred, hope is real, and tomorrow can be a better day than today. All are welcome. You can find more information at www.lumencommunities.com.